Hello and welcome back, or just welcome if you're new. Um, I realized right before I said it that every single time I'm like, I struggled with this one. So I wanted to not say it for once, but I struggled with this one. So the reason I struggled with this one is largely that I was already kind of tired. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do something really simple, and I'm not gonna, finish it. I'm not gonna do really precise stuff. I'm not gonna do line art, just kind of two sketch layers. And then I was like, but also it's gonna be a full body pose, and certain elements are gonna be coming towards us, and others going away from us, so it's all gonna be wonky. So for example, that arm I just drew, her elbow is receding, and then her forearm is coming towards us. So it looks proportionally odd because like her hand is kind of slightly in front of her back leg, which is the bent leg, but her elbow is behind her body. Like, is that kind of drawing? So I adjust this other arm a lot. And also one of her shoulders is higher than the other because she's adjusting her shoulders. So I was trying to show movement because I usually do a lot of portraits and stuff, and very still images. So I wanted to do something that had, more of a flow to it, more energy. So I decided someone who's like either twirling around or kind of dancing, but like not like professionally dancing or impressively dancing, just having a good time kind of dancing. So that's kind of the vibe. That also impacted like how I drew her legs, especially. I wanted kind of a sportier physique. And also recently when I've been drawing people, I feel like they look short. I feel like they look short. Like I'll just see them head and shoulders. I'm like, I bet you're not tall. You can tell these kinds of things. So I decided that she's a bit, kind of shorter, a bit stockier, in the limbs and the legs especially. So that's kind of where I'm saying a lot. I'm so sorry. I'm figuring out how she's kind of holding her dress so that it doesn't like fly up. God. So this is the second sketch layer, which means this is as precise as it's gonna get in terms of line. So I have to figure out her feet because it's her front leg is coming towards us, but it's not fully touching the ground. I decided not to do a complicated shoe like I was going to do because I was like, I just need to get this right. Please, God help me. So I made a very simple shoe. So like the toe, I would say, is probably touching down, but her heel is up. Her other foot is back behind her body, and like she's kind of leaning forward a little bit, like her hips are back as well. And then on her right, our left, like both her leg and her arm are kind of coming towards us a little bit, but not directly, so it's not foreshortened necessarily. Like the back forearm is foreshortened, but this is more, because it's coming towards us, it appears larger towards the bottom. And I mess with that a lot because I'm not happy with it. Because I'm like, oh God, she looks so proportionally weird. Like, but it's just because one of her arms is farther away from us and one of them is closer to us. And also her hips, like she's kind of twisted her hips where one of her hips is noticeably, her hip that's towards us is noticeably higher. It's a dynamic pose, okay? I don't do a lot of those because it stresses me out. See, and that's how you can see her shoulder is lower. It's kind of rotated into the socket a little bit more on her right or left. I adjust this arm a little bit more after this because, the struggle. I think about like changing things a lot, and then I'm like, no, just maybe she shouldn't be short. No. That's about all I do. I just kind of mush the arm a bit and make the hand bigger because it's coming towards us, remember, so it's close. The other hand is probably not quite as close to us, but it's relatively close because, like I said, her elbow is back, but her forearm is going forward. Basically, I had a very specific idea in mind, and it drove me a little insane trying to get it right. And then I had no idea what I wanted to do with her face. I was really planning out the body, and then I was like, oh God, oh no, oh God. So here I am figuring it out. I'm like, maybe I just mush it around. No, I have to actually redraw it. Do things properly. Hate that. I do adjust her eyes. They're not quite even yet. Oops. But I fixed that. Don't worry. Don't worry too much. So here I am figuring out the hair. And I was like, no, that's too much. I want it, like the style I'm going for is kind of cutesy, like a lot of forehead and a lot of fluffy hair and stuff. And then I just have fun drawing little curly hair. And this impacts things. Largely in that I decided that she was probably mixed race. Just I drew the hair texture and I loved it. And I was like, that's very kind of curly hair, like pretty curly. So I was like, why not? I didn't know what skin color I was going to give her anyway. Just go for it. Because again, I planned out the body and nothing else. Didn't even know quite how the dress was going to go, honestly. So I'm just doing a little more detail around her eyelashes. I swear I'm going to fix the eye any second now. It's going to happen. You got to believe in me. I'm not lying to you. There I am. Yep. Fixing the eyes. Because her head is kind of slightly tilted away from us. Because everything has to be at a little tiny bit of an angle. So it looks slightly wrong. Or at least to my eye. It was very stressful because I always felt like I was messing up somehow. But I think I didn't mess up. I don't know if I messed up. I'm still not sure. Because like her front leg looks kind of shorter than it is because it's coming towards us. But like because of the angle. Oh my, it's tricky. I did spend a while just flipping her back and forth, and it did kind of look like she was dancing, so I decided that I succeeded. And I'm going to just live with that. So, yeah. Here I am. Blocking in colors, trying to think about how neat I actually wanted it to be, how much shading I was going to do, because I had not considered that. Because again, I had one idea, and it was I want her to be kind of dancing, or at least twirling. And then I finished that part, and I kind of had to figure out what the rest was. So I decided kind of partway through that I'm going to put the skin tone layer on top of the dress/shoe layer. So I had to go back and erase some of the parts where it would overlap with the dresses. And I decided this really like light blue teal looked really good. And it was almost like halfway across the color wheel, so it was almost like complementary, but not quite. I didn't want that much contrast, but I felt it did pop well. Here I am. Again, deciding how finished I want the color to be. I decided that I'm not going to do fully opaque on her hair. I'm going to try and maintain some of the curliness and the texture with how I'm coloring and shading on it. Whereas everything else is a lot more solid. So, honestly, I'm pretty happy with the shading job on the dress. And her skin, I initially was like, okay, what color? I decided to just go kind of a darker one, but I actually add a little bit of blue in the shadows right after this because I felt it was dull. I didn't want it to be dull. So I don't do a whole lot of like blending in, because again, I'm not doing like a really neat line art layer or anything, and I'm not making it so they can stand without the sketch. So that's just going to remain, and it's going to be slightly messy looking. So I'm not going too precise on the coloring and the shading and all that, but I am, doing highlights and, shadows and just kind of doing everything. Here I am on a layer that I set to color, I believe, going with like a kind of rosy, pinky, reddy color, mostly around the fingertips and shoulders. It's mostly subtle, except for like by her face, because on darker skin that's often not as easy to notice, like the redness. But I wanted her to have kind of, I guess, makeup. I think I really like pink, like near the eyes and near the mouth. So here it is. It's done. I think she's pretty cute. I like her proportions a lot, if her arms matched. But goodbye.